Be ready. 10 seconds to go. Start. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Sir, as we all know, budget is a very serious exercise, and in a country like ours, budget augurs great importance. Economics and politics cannot be divorced. Whatever claims the government makes in political domain, they will have to be correspondingly supported by the economic policies outlined by the government. There, the budget becomes important to question the government's policies and question the government's understanding of the economy. Sir, considering the time constraint, I move point by point. This budget doesn't have adequate steps to contain inflation. There is no measure to create more jobs as promised by the Prime Minister and the government. There is no increase in direct tax on the rich, but the government gives assurance to reduce the corporate tax. There is burden of indirect tax which continues to be more on the poor people. Sir, the government talks about banking reforms, but there is no visible, tangible action against willful defaulters. Government doesn't want to speak on willful default by the rich, by the corporate houses, but the government goes on expressing concern over the growing non performing assets of banks and in a way blaming it on the banks, nationalized banks, and public sector banks. Sir, if you closely scrutinize the figures, there is less allocation on health and education. I do not know what is the understanding of the government. Even the International Monetary Fund has pointed out the growing inequalities in the society among the nations, and it is the IMF economists who advised the nation states to spend more on health and education. But here we find less allocation on health and education. Sir, the outlay on farmers, farming sector, farmers' welfare really stands reduced, and in the case of scheduled caste component plan, tribal sub plan, despite the claims of government, there is actual reduction. There is actual reduction. The government will have to consider some of these issues in the interest of our economy. Sir, since 1991 onwards, our economy has been highly dependent on foreign exchange inflows, where it is dependent more on foreign exchange, that is US dollars, than Indian rupees. I can very well call that Indian economy is not a rupee economy. It has become US dollar dominated economy. Sir, even the current account and GDP of India are being determined more by inflow of American dollars, the foreign investments. Sir, the government talks a lot about the agricultural sector, but actually speaking, the crop insurance scheme that they are talking about, for instance, eludes majority of the farmers, as the budget estimates show that only half will be covered by March 2019. That is what the budget says. It would always elude the poor farmers who need the facility most, simply because the insurance companies work on market factors. They are driven by market forces and they do not work on social security, social benefit, or social welfare. The budget is a meager rupees 9,000 crore. Large populations of tenant farmers stand totally bypassed. There is no provision to meet the consumption needs. Sir, the finance minister announced several things. I can quote how the fund allocated for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is less and not enough to meet the requirement of the situation as it prevails today. Sir, if you take the scheduled castes component plan and tribal sub plan, the finance minister claims that there is an increase. But what is our understanding of scheduled castes component plan or tribal sub plan? Sir, these plans were conceived way back in 1970s. We had planning commission. Now, after your government came, you dismantled the planning commission. Now there is Niti Aayog. I do not know what the mandate of Niti Aayog is. If I understand what Niti Aayog does, it is nothing but transferring public assets to the private sector, promoting private sector and patronizing private sector. Even the Niti Aayog goes to the extent of saying that you privatize some functions of the railways. I do not understand why you are privatizing public sector undertakings. Sir, in this house we discussed what the strength of our economy is. Without the public sector undertakings, without the public sector banks, without the insurance companies, what is the strength of our economy? Why do you intend to go for reckless, massive disinvestment of public sector undertakings? Why should your government allow Salem steel plant to be privatized, which is one of the best public sector undertakings? Why do you want to privatize Bengal Chemicals? Why do you want to privatize IDPL and Durgapur plant? What is your understanding of Indian economy? Sir, this is one issue. In that context, I raised the issue of scheduled castes component plan and tribal sub plan. The issue was raised yesterday by my colleague. Earlier, it was raised by one other honorable member who was a planning commission member, who decides how this scheduled castes component plan or tribal sub plan should be there. The government should explain to us. In the absence of the planning commission, some authority will have to decide it. Stop.